Up the stairs, it's a rotten egg.
Girls will be boys. Mrs. Muir! Mrs. Muir! Have I got something to show you? What? Are you ready for this?
Where did that abominable thing come from?
Yankee Skipper clam chowder. Where'd you get this? At the general store?
Yes, the new product. And Mr. Wilkins says they're trying it out in this area. I tell you, when I saw Laughing Boy on that label, I couldn't pass it up. I think I'll open a can of it for dinner tonight.
I'll level that blasted store.
You can't do that.
Why not?
I'll flatten it to the ground.
That's destroying private property.
Opening a can of clam chowder is destroying private property.
No, I'm sorry, Martha. Go ahead and destroy it. Open it.
Writers. Writers.
You realize, Captain, that Ollie Wilkins isn't the only star about to carry your clam chowder.
Not my clam chowder, Mrs. Muir. Never my clam chowder.
Yes, I know, but my point is you can't go around leveling every store in New England.
That's correct. It wouldn't be practical. I'll find the cannery and destroy it.
Now, let's just forget destroying for a minute and approach this logically. In the first place, where could they have found this picture of you?
Well, if my memory serves me, after the Battle of Santa Cruz, I was asked to sit for my photograph.
Oh? Someone found you photogenic?
This strange little man insisted that I sit for him. I can't remember his name now. Matthew something or other.
Matthew Brady?
Do you know him? Of course not. How could you? Well, in any case, my photograph was taken, and now it's come back to haunt me.
Well, apparently someone got a hold of it and pictured you as the spirit of clam chowder.
Madam, that last remark, if you don't mind my saying so, is a cheap joke. Now, what do you propose to do to stop all this?
Snedeker Foods, Boston. Well, we could write a letter of protest.
I'm in no mood for letters, madam. I want action.
Oh, I know someone who can help you.
Who?
You're not going to like this.
Nonsense, madam. At this point, I'd leap at any offer.
Claymore. You're not leaping.
Nice Scruffy. Oh, sweet little Scruffy. Want to go out? Scruffy, go ahead.
Come on in, coffee's on.
Mr. Muir, how long will this take? I've got to get right back.
Well, you'll have to ask you-know-who.
This involves him?
Mm-hmm.
Him and me?
Right.
Oh,
Now, don't get upset, Claymore.
Mrs. Muir, may I tell you something? Just the thought of him upsets me. Why, if I never saw him again, I'd be the happiest man in this world. Do you know what I mean? Why, he is...
Now, it's all right, Claymore.
Claymore, lad, let us forget our old animosities. I want to think of us as friendly.
Oh, I would like nothing better. No!
Don't interrupt me.
Yes, sir,
I am considering recognizing you as my great-nephew, strictly on a trial basis.
Thank you, Uncle Danny.
Danny?
Oh, Uncle Craig. Captain Danny. Captain Uncle.
Mrs. Muir, surely there must be another way.
There isn't, Captain. You need Claymore.
Mrs. Muir, Captain, please, what is this all about?
This is what it's all about.
Yankee Skipper Clam Chowder. But Oh. Why, it's you. Oh, I understand. Well, you can count on me. I shall take 6 cans. No! I'll take a dozen. Give me a case.
Claymore, we're not trying to sell it. We're trying to stop it.
Well, is it that bad?
You blubberbrain. I don't want my picture used to peddle clam chowder, good or bad. It's up to you to stop it.
Up to me, but how?
Claymore, as a direct descendant of Captain Gregg, you have a legal right to prevent them from using his picture as a trademark.
I do?
Yes, positively. Now, I've tracked down their advertising agency, and it's the Hooper Company in Boston.
Oh, well, I see. Well, there are a few things we have to discuss. First, my expenses. Now that we discuss my expenses, what if they should say no? I mean, what if they don't want to stop this expensive campaign? It would cost them a fortune to change trademarks at this late date. What if they put up a fight?
Claymore, lad, we Greggs have never backed off from a fight, have we?
Yes, we have.
No, we haven't. The Gregg name is at stake. The Gregg integrity. Damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead.
Aye, sir, full speed
Show them
ahead.
what the Greggs are made of. Fight with your last drop of blood.
With my last drop of blood.
With your last breath.
With my last breath.
With your last penny.
With my last breath. And that's, well, what can I say? I mean, that's the way it is, Mr. Snedeker.
Admiral Snedeker, U.S. Navy retired.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I didn't know that.
It's quite all right. You see, I found that picture in the Maritime Archives. I suggested to Hooper here that we use it for the new chowder.
We had no idea it would affect you.
No, as a matter of fact, I thought it was in public domain.
Now, the Hooper agency was equally at fault. We should have checked it out, Admiral.
You certainly should have. All Schooner Bay is up in arms about this. Why, my revered ancestor, Captain Gregg, is a hallowed figure. He is a folk hero.
Oh, I understand. The spirit of Captain Gregg still lives in Schooner Bay?
My children doff their little hats as they pass Gull Cottage.
No, really? This Gull Cottage, was it his home?
Oh, yes. My great-uncle built it himself. And that's where he lived. And died. And lives. I mean, Gull Cottage is there today, just as he left it.
Just think what we could have done with that, Admiral. Gull Cottage on the billboards, as a background for TV commercials.
No, you must stop all of this.
Mr. Gregg, if we had known your relation to the captain, we most certainly would have asked for your permission.
Well, you can't have it.
And paid you the customary fee.
Without proper negotiation.
We usually pay $1,000.
$1,000? I'm sorry, it's out of the question.
I tell you what, Mr. Gregg, if you'll give us all the advertising rights and the use of the cottage, we'll pay you $5,000.
$5,000? It is a deal.
Mr. Gregg.
Oh, let's not be so formal. Call me CJ.
Too bad you didn't have breakfast with us, Mommy. We're having clam chowder.
Clam chowder for breakfast?
They insisted on it.
It's Captain Gregg's chowder.
Yes, I know, dear, but I think that cereal would be much better for you at this time of day.
What if we slice some bananas in it?
So, this is Gull Cottage.
Lovely. Gentlemen,
What a marvelous place.
isn't it?
Extraordinarily pretty.
Just go right on in, gentlemen, and introduce yourselves. Mrs. Muir is very pleasant. I've got pressing business. Oh, pressing. Bye.
Oh, please! No!
Stop it!
Why such haste, Claymore? Haven't you got anything to tell me about what happened in Boston?
Well, they're building this new expressway, and the dock workers are on strike.
Claymore, I sent you on a mission. You come back here with 2 strangers.
Oh, Uncle, you would have been proud of me. I put up a fight that they won't forget. Why, they thought they were dealing with a pushover. They tried begging, pleading, wheedling, and when that didn't work, they tried to break me down, back me into a corner, make me give up.
Yes, and then?
And then, they succeeded.
Claymore, those men in there, they're talking about taking pictures in my kitchen.
Now, don't be alarmed, Mrs. Muir. You have as much right here as they do.
What are you talking about?
Well, I couldn't do a thing. I mean, Mrs. Muir, we haven't got a legal leg to stand on. Somehow they got the rights to the captain's picture and Gull Cottage. Don't ask me how.
Gull Cottage, too? How could they?
I asked you not to ask me.
So now they're trying to board my ship, eh?
Well, they're not going to use Gull Cottage.
Mrs. Muir, there is nothing we can do about it.
We'll see what my lawyer has to say about that.
Ooh, your lawyer?
Yes, well, that's what we should have had all along, a good Philadelphia lawyer. He'll put a stop to this right away.
Mrs. Muir, no, please, don't do that. I haven't told you the whole story. The truth is, they do have legal permission because I gave it to them.
Claymore, what did you do that for?
For $5,000. Oh, and I got you 3 cases of the clam chowder free. I know how much you love it.
Mrs. Muir, you're a tenant. We're not disputing your rights. You're disputing ours. Our contract gives us legal permission.
But not my permission.
Well, that's true, but when you get right down to it, we don't need it.
After all, you know, our deal was with CG.
CG?
Your dispute is with him.
Well, who's CG?
CG. I must remember to put that in your tombstone.
Oh, gentlemen, I'd like you to meet.
Sit down, you simpleton. They can't see me.
Now, Mrs. Muir, I'm sure we could work out some arrangement if you'd cooperate.
Madam, are you going to fiddle around all day with these cheeky brigands?
I'm not fiddling around with cheeky brigands. Excuse me, I didn't mean you.
Well, don't apologize.
Mr. Hooper, I must give you fair warning that if you persist in this, I'm going to have to call my lawyer.
Oh, now, Mrs. Muir, we don't want any trouble, but...
Ah, madam, you've got him on the defensive. Now close in.
Believe me, he will take that agreement and rip it to shreds. He'll expose you as
Crass exploiters of a great man's memory.
crass exploiters of a great man's memory.
Well, Mrs. Muir, there's just one thing to keep in mind. Snedeker Foods means quality foods. And our Yankee Skipper clam chowder is the finest chowder available on the market. Why, there is quality control all the way from the...
The wooden ships, sailed by iron men. Men who match their courage and skills against the elements. Just think. Your great-uncle sailed that ship.
In his bathtub? Oh, I mean, it's so small.
What a beautiful instrument. But this ought to be in the glass case. After all, it was his. Beautiful. Beautiful. Mrs. Muir, I'd like you to know that I revere the memory of Captain Gregg. And you know what I saw when I looked into that face?
Chowder?
No. I saw integrity, virility, and nobility of thought. And I said to myself, now that's the kind of face that inspires trust.
Well, that's all very well. Now, if you'll excuse me, Admiral.
Madam, let the gentleman speak.
Oh, Mrs. Muir, I can vouch for the Admiral's sincerity. Why, since we've discovered the captain's identity, he's even read up on the life of Captain Gregg.
Well, now.
That's quite right. Because I wanted to find out exactly what kind of work inspired that classic image. You can't blame me for wanting to identify my clam chowder with such an inspiring image.
Well, no, not really.
Captain?
It's Admiral.
Admiral. Yes, of course, Admiral. Well, that's all very well, but using Gull Cottage.
Mrs. Muir, I'd like to preserve this collection of nautical memorabilia for posterity, and then set aside some of the clam chowder profits to look after Gull Cottage.
I'd better call my lawyer.
Don't bother, madam. I like the cut of this Snedeker's jib.
I'm calling my lawyer. Oh, fine. Just fine. Well, welcome to Chowder Cottage. I'm sure we're all going to be as happy as clams.
She's really a very hospitable person.
Good evening, Mrs. Muir. That Snedeker's a likable chap.
Well, he said such nice things about you.
Well, I can't argue with him. He's an admiral, you know. He outranks me.
Sounds like a mutual admiration society.
You don't know what you're implying is quite wrong, Mrs. Muir. There's not an ounce of vanity in me.
There isn't room with all that integrity, virility, and character.
You're cross because I wouldn't allow you to call your attorney. After all, it is my face they're using, you know.
Yes, that's true. And if you want a glorious career as a Chowderhead,
Mrs. Muir.
well, that's all right with me. I'm concerned about Gull Cottage.
You heard the Admiral. He wants to start a foundation.
By the time they get through with Gull Cottage, that's all that'll be left. The foundation.
Nonsense. Mr. Hooper said they wanted to photograph the kitchen. Where's the harm in that?
Well, that's just the beginning. Wait till they start the filming, and then the sightseers start dropping in.
Well, we'll deal with those eventualities.
Captain, you'll deal with them alone. I won't be here. I came here for privacy, remember? And now that's going to be taken away from me. 3 bedrooms, kitchen, bath, children, and pets okay.
Matthew Brady thought I was troublesome. He's at the end of his rope. He's driving away.
Well, somewhere along the line, you seem to have had a change of heart.
Not at all. I was reserving judgment on this enterprise from the word go. You don't think I was completely swept overboard by Admiral Snedeker's praise, do you? Well, I wasn't. When I saw the disadvantages inherent in all this advertising nonsense, I simply put a stop to it.
Captain, you didn't put a stop to anything. All you've done now is to send them to shoot in a studio where they'll build something that looks exactly like Gull Cottage.
Well, at least they won't be here.
No, but the tourists will. The advertising and the promotion will bring them in just the same.
Oh, blast. What about your Philadelphia lawyer? Can he put a stop to it?
No, not now, not anymore.
Well, we'll have to resort to something else then.
I hope it isn't ghostly trickery.
No, something much more effective. Female trickery. And for that, I'll need your cooperation.
Do you mean the photographer quit his job?
Admiral, he quit the business.
We'll have to get someone else. I want to go national with Yankee Skipper as soon as possible.
How are sales going, Admiral?
Oh, fair. It takes time. It's a new product.
Well, I'm sure it'll do very well. It's very good chowder.
Thank you. I like to think so.
Oh, the kids are crazy about it.
Yes, and yesterday I recommended it to a friend of mine at the store, Mrs. Kemper. Of course, she didn't touch it.
Why not, did she say?
No. She just looked at it and went, oof.
This is rather an odd reaction, isn't it?
Not so odd. I say the same thing every time I pass that painting in the living room.
That's a typical female reaction. The face on that label is very stern and forbidding. Of course, since you have a good product, I suppose it doesn't really matter.
It matters very much.
Really?
Tell me, Mrs. Muir, how do you feel about the Yankee Skipper trademark? I mean, as an eye-catcher.
I definitely feel my sales resistance building up.
Huh? Why?
Well, he's so grim and hostile looking. Of course, that's just one woman's opinion.
Well, I've always heard that most women are alike.
That's true, Admiral.
And after all, it's a woman's market we're after.
Could I make a suggestion? The kind of image that has always appealed to me is one of homey warmth and friendliness. A quality of simple goodness and sunny spirits.
Like what?
Well, like, here, I'll show you. Come on.
All right. Well,
Here. There. Now that's the image you want.
oh, no, Mrs. Muir, really,
Well, I buy a can of anything with your picture on it. And you know why?
Why?
Because your face radiates a happy, sunny disposition. I trust it.
Hey, wait a minute. How does this grab you? Admiral Snedeker's clam chowder. It's spoon-licking good.
That sounds marvelous. Why, with his picture on every label, it would be irresistible.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, the thing is, we keep it in the Snedeker Foods family.
Come to think of it, as a matter of fact, I hate to say this, but I have noticed that the captain's picture does look a little forbidding.
Forbidding? I could scare crows.
Ah, Mrs. Muir. Well, our guest's gone.
Oh, and I think for good. We sank the Yankee Skipper.
Excellent. I must say, your aim is most deadly.
Oh, you didn't take anything I said to heart, did you?
Well, as a matter of fact, I thought you placed one or two extra shots below the waterline.
Oh, now you knew I was exaggerating. You wanted me to be effective.
And you don't really think that this face would scare crows?
Captain. Any crow scared of that face is chicken. As a matter of fact, I think a lot of women would have bought Yankee Skipper clam chowder.
Really?
I know I would.
Mrs. Muir, I hope you don't think it's necessary to console me. As you know, I have absolutely no personal vanity. It is not, as the current phrase has it, one of my hang-ups. You were saying?